But if it could stop the music. They want Congress to force radio stations to pay them more money simply to play their music. Don't let radio go silent. Text LOCAL to 52886 and tell Congress to protect local radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Having a hard time finding the correct new car, truck, SUV, or crossover to fit your needs? This is Scott Baum from Bob Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. Some lots look low on inventory, so go to our website, look at our pre-order and reserve tab. You'll see inventory in transit, which are built and on their way to Clinton, and in production, new Chevys and Buicks, which are being built and will arrive soon. Or you can always call our sales team. They can help you find the correct one just for you. BombChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the phone this morning, Dr. Lindsey Hall, is the superintendent of Mahomet-Seymour Schools. And Dr. Hall, a bit of a bittersweet morning for us. Glad to have you on as always, but this is our last visit. You are riding off into the sunset for retirement. How about that, Dr. Hall? I bet you're very excited.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I guess it will be the last time we visit, Seth, so I just have always appreciated the time that you've given to all local superintendents, and just thank you for that. So, yep, I'm retiring officially on June 30th, and on to the next journey in life.
For sure. Well, before we get there, let's take care of some business still to be done in the Mahomet-Seymour School District, Dr. Hall, and you're kind of handing things over. I know you're in the midst of a teacher contract negotiation, and you'll be handing that over to your successor here in a few weeks. What's the latest on that situation? And just talk about, I know there's a lot of confidential things that come with that, especially as those negotiations are ongoing. So what can you tell us about that process at this point?
Sure. Well, I think the best way to clarify it right now is just to say that we're in the process of negotiating our collective bargaining agreement with the Mahomet-Seymour Education Association. We were coming to the end of a previous 4-year contract, and we look forward to continuing those talks. We have a positive relationship with our union, and we find ways to work through issues and find common ground. So looking forward to continuing that.
Just in general, would you say those conversations are frequently amicable? You know, just you mentioned the good working relationship that you have with the union, and it's very rare, Dr. Hall, especially in Central Illinois among more rural districts. I would, certainly put Mahomet-Seymour in that category. You just don't see a lot of public bickering and things of that nature like you sometimes get, even strikes like you'll get at bigger districts. Do you find those negotiations, and I don't know if you can speak to this particular ongoing contract negotiation, but are those conversations always, I don't want to say pleasant, but positive, maybe a better way to put it? How about that?
Well, I think it's best at this point for me just to comment, globally kind of on our relationship with our teachers union, which does also include paraprofessionals, transportation employees, custodians, and educational office professionals. So it spans a broad group of people. I think, overall, we have a very positive relationship. We are able to work through things, and certainly through COVID, we had a lot of discussions about a lot of different topics related to how we're going to do school. And I'm proud of the way that our staff and union leaders and administration has come together to work through a lot of different things and just always have discussions that are focused on the best interest of kids.
Very good. So
yep.
We'll look forward to hopefully another positive development out of the latest negotiation process, and at risk of putting you in a compromising situation about the ongoing aspect of it. I'll just seed, I guess, the rest of the questions for another time. Dr. Hall, in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about just in general, Mahomet-Seymour schools. You're still working on that Bulldog Blueprint, and you're going to have that vote here in a week or so, and then it's going to be time to pass off whatever happens, whether the community supports it or not. It's going to be time to pass that issue off to your successor as well. What's the latest with Bulldog Blueprint? Where do we stand with some of these things? Give us an update there.
Sure. Well, the most important thing for folks to know is that Election Day is a week from tomorrow. It's June 28th. And we want to make sure that everybody gets out and votes. There's a lot of other important issues on the ballot in addition to the Mahomet-Seymour Schools referendum. And if people are out of town on Election Day or want to, for other reasons, maybe just they want to vote early, that is available now too. And you can, in the Mahomet-Seymour School District, you can vote early at Lake of the Woods Pavilion from 10 to 6 during the week. And there's also times on next Saturday and Sunday where that polling place is open. And you can also register to vote at that polling place if you're not even registered. So that's really a big message I'd like to convey is just continuing to create the awareness that there is an election next Tuesday, June 28th, and that early voting has started, and we just encourage folks to get out and vote.
Sure.
So that's number one piece of information right now. And if you don't know there's an election, then you haven't had your television on. There's a lot of election ads right now. So,
which for some folks hasn't been the worst, I don't think.
Yeah. So anyway, just get out and vote. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, Dr. Hall, real quick, give us just again the overview of what folks in Mahomet-Seymour are voting on, and what like in the last month or so, as we've been talking about this, what has the district been doing to just promote education and awareness on what's on the ballot? How about those two components?
Sure. Well, what we're asking our voters for is a $97.9 million bond issue that would include the following things. I'm just going to list them. Number one is a new 6th through 8th grade building to replace our current junior high. Number two is a new transportation center to replace our current transportation center. And then additions on to each of our buildings, which are classrooms and other facilities at Middletown Prairie. The same thing at Lincoln Trail, and at the high school, we're looking at a fine arts addition, improvements to other parts of the building, as well as some outdoor facilities improvements as well. So this is a comprehensive long-term vision. It was designed that way on purpose with feedback and input from our community. And we're asking this now so that we don't have to come back to our voters perhaps in the near future to ask for more space. We need capacity in all of our buildings. Very simply, we are out of room. On June 23rd, which is this Thursday, we are expecting the arrival of a trailer with 2 classrooms for our junior high school. And I think that speaks to the fact that we're out of space. And if the bond issue doesn't pass, then we very well could be looking at more trailers with classrooms at our other buildings too, at our 2 elementary buildings. So, that information is put out there so that people can decide and make an informed vote. And if people need more information, I encourage them to go to our website under Referendum 2022. There's a wealth of information. And I'm happy to answer any questions if folks want to reach out to me. And we just ask that people make an informed vote when they go to the polls on our bond issue.
How have you been reaching out to the community, Dr. Hall, so folks know what they're voting on in this election next week? I know that I don't know if the district can do much or if there's a committee or anything of that nature, but what types of efforts have been taken up in that realm?
Sure. Well, I can speak to what the district has done, and the school district's role in a referendum is to provide just purely informational, do the informational piece and provide the facts of the bond issue. We're not here to promote or not promote the issue. And, that's up to private citizens if they want to work on either side of the issue. So as far as what the district has done, we hosted 2 open houses back in May for folks to drop by. We had a good response there. I think people found that to be very helpful. They could look at plans. They could ask questions of our architect and our financial advisor. We've been pushing out information on our social media platforms. I have been speaking to various groups over the last month or two, just in person to just connect with folks and answer questions. But most importantly, I feel like just make people aware again that there is an election on June 28th. It's I just talked to someone the other day who had no idea that there's an election next Tuesday. So
Wow.
it's not the typical time for a midterm primary in Illinois. And so that's been a big piece of what we want to push out is just like, hey, there's an election happening and Mahomet-Seymour schools do have a referendum on the ballot.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So we'll look forward to that. Dr. Lindsey Hall, Superintendent of Mahomet-Seymour Schools, my guest on the phone. Dr. Hall, anything else from a school business perspective, whether it's Bulldog Blueprint and the election next week? Anything else, though, on your mind this morning to touch on before we go to break?
Gosh, those are the two really big things that are happening right now. Of course, just we have our typical summer things going on. We have summer school happening. We've got lots of athletic camps. If you drive by our high school, you see our drum line practicing, and so our kids and staff are very dedicated, even in the times that we think of summer vacation. We still have a lot going on in our schools. And just a shout out to our girls softball team. Also, they took 4th in state this year.
Yeah.
Just did an incredible job, and great group of young women there and coaches.
Sure. Very good. Well, Dr. Hall, I'll tell you what, let's take a time out here. We'll come back with more. Dr. Lindsey Hall, Superintendent of Mahomet-Seymour Schools, is my guest on the phone for this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton.
WHOW.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
There's a clear choice for Congress. Mary Miller voted with the Socialist Squad to defund our military. Like Joe Biden, Miller coddles criminal illegal immigrants and says it's our responsibility to care for them. Ann Miller knowingly hired a convicted pedophile to be her driver and allowed him to prowl our neighborhoods and put our kids at risk, abandoning our troops, giving aid to criminals who illegally cross our border. Embracing a convicted pedophile, fake conservative Mary Miller can't be trusted. Conservative Congressman Rodney Davis voted to strengthen our military and give our troops a pay raise. Davis voted for President Trump's wall and to cut off funding for sanctuary cities. And Davis is endorsed by the Illinois Fraternal Order of Police because he's tough on crime. Rodney Davis is the strong conservative that Illinois families can trust.
I'm Rodney Davis, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Rodney for Congress.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the phone, Dr. Lindsey Hall, is the superintendent of Mahomet-Seymour Schools, and Dr. Hall wraps up this month a 30-plus year career in education, riding off into retirement at the end of the month. And Dr. Hall, first of all, I know we've been catching up for a few years now in your time at Mahomet-Seymour Schools, and I've always enjoyed our conversations. I've always appreciated not just you, but your peers in Central Illinois making time for us to talk with us. I know, especially the last couple of years, you folks have been exorbitantly busy, and it's been a stressful time for you. But like I said, I've always appreciated your time and you taking it out for us. How did you get to Mahomet-Seymour schools? For folks out there that maybe either new or not familiar with your career and journey to Central Illinois, how did you end up where you're at?
Well, kind of in an interesting and literally roundabout way. I was first hired in Mahomet-Seymour in 1994 as the assistant principal and athletic director at Mahomet-Seymour Junior High. And for the 5 years before that, I had started my teaching career at Danville High School. And I knew fairly quickly that I wanted to go into administration. I had some great role models in Danville that inspired me. And so I was hired in my first administrative position back in 1994 here. And I worked here for 11 years. Eventually, I moved into the principalship of Mahomet-Seymour Junior High and knew that this was a very special, wonderful place. My two youngest kids did most of their schooling here, and have just appreciated the community, the people, and really the support of the school. In 2005, though, my family moved up north, and I took a job as principal of DeKalb High School, and we stayed in DeKalb for 7 years. I was principal for 4 years, and then I moved into an assistant superintendent's position for 3 years. And then after that, I was ready to move into being a superintendent, and had the opportunity to do that from 2012 to 2017 in the Morton School District over by Peoria. Another great school district and really special community and special folks to work with there. And in 2017, the position here came open, and I knew I wanted to return, and was just so incredibly blessed to be selected as the superintendent. And it's just been a total honor and joy to serve here, even on the hardest of days. This is the best place to work and be and live, and so that's kind of the, I literally kind of made a circle around Illinois and landed here twice. So
Yeah.
It's been great. It's been great.
Sure. Well, education, Dr. Hall, has certainly undergone a major, major change, especially in the last, 10 years as technology starts to be more part of our lives. It's obviously becoming a bigger part of the education process. That's just one of, I'm sure, many changes that you've seen over the years. What have been some of the highlights in terms of the good things that have happened in terms of, education evolving with the times that it faces? What have you seen there?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, there's been a lot of positive changes in education, and I do think the use of technology in classrooms has been a very positive thing overall. Students having their own devices, that's how we best prepare kids for the future that they're going to enter into post high school. I think that K-12 education is evolving in that way to prepare our students for what is a digital world where they're going to probably experience multiple job changes. It's less common for people now to go into one career and stay there. And so just the way that we prepare kids, realizing that they need more real life experiences, internships, apprenticeships, programs that place them in, hands-on, again, real life experiences. I think that's been really, really, really important and a really good change. I also think we realize that and have adjusted and adapted to the fact that our students come to us with a very wide variety of needs. And before a student is able to, sit in a classroom and really be ready to learn, the academic information and all the things that prepare them for life, there's another piece of their learning, social emotional learning, which is very important too. And, that includes being able to get along with others, cooperate with others, problem solve effectively, communicate effectively. And that's all part of becoming a contributing citizen, an employable individual, and someone who can, again, just contribute positively to the world. So I've seen a lot of really, really great changes, and I think the future is bright.
You know, one thing I was going to ask about the challenges that you've seen in terms of some of the most substantial challenges in your career. You know, I think of obviously the teacher shortage that we face currently, you know, the funding issue of you know, the last 10 years, give or take, where, you know, especially in Illinois, state dollars have greatly diminished and you become more reliant on the taxpayer and all those sorts of things. Those local revenues. But, you know, as you're talking there, Dr. Hall, it got me thinking, you know, schools have really shifted from not just educating students, but it's also, it's not, I use daycare for lack of a better term, but you've been asked to take on so much more responsibility in raising the community's children, from feeding them to providing them, you know, various supports over the years, emotional, mental supports, those types of things. You know, do you mind speaking to some of those challenges that you've seen in your career in education?
Well, sure. You know, I mean, schools look very, very different than they did 30 and 40 years ago. And I suppose you know, there's going to, as with everything, there's going to be points of view on both sides of that. As a public school, our doors are open to every child who comes there, and every child is connected with the family. And so we're here to serve our children and families in the best way that we can. I think it's accurate to say that we have taken on more, and schools are looked to do more, but I have to say that we serve populations that need more as well. That's probably a reflection of our changing society, just that you know, the work life of parents looks different. There's just so many things that have changed, and I think that because of how public schools operate, we are going to be reflective of those changes. And our jobs are to, first and foremost, educate kids. But there's parts of that go along with it that maybe some folks don't think quite belongs in public schools. I just go back to what our mission is globally as public schools, is our doors are open to anybody who comes in, who lives in our school district. And you know, that encompasses a really, really broad range of kids and families, and we want to do our best to serve them in the best ways that we can.
Sure. Well, Dr. Hall, I have to let you go for the day. Like I said, it's always been a pleasure to catch up with you. I have always appreciated you making time for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, best of luck with what's next for you. That's Dr. Lindsey Hall, Superintendent of Mahomet-Seymour Schools, my guest on the show this morning. Network news on the way on the WHOW Morning Show.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Surging demand, staff shortages, and the weather factors airlines blame for what's proven to be a